name is Dani Gill and welcome to the Live Network Publisher Showcase 2023. And I'm here with author Claire Walsh and we're talking about her book Underwater, published by Gill Books. Hi Claire.
Hi, how are you?
Big congrats on the book. I loved it. I listened to the audio version. I thought it was really stunning and really interesting story. And congrats on your recent nomination for the Post Irish Book Awards.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been an absolutely wild ride. And it's funny you mentioned the audiobook. That was probably one of my favorite things in the whole process, to record it. It was the biggest challenge I have done. You'll be shocked to realize how many sounds your body makes without realizing. So that was, it was an incredible experience.
Will you please read an excerpt from the book so people can get a feel?
Sure. Underwater, you don't hear anything. Putting my face in the water is like a sigh of relief for my mind. Internal chatter, judgments, and criticism fade to a white noise, and the rhythmic anchor of my breathing through the snorkel lulls me into the welcomed quietness. Dancing in front of my eyes, beams of light extend 30 meters below me, showcasing a spectrum of silvers, blues, and greens. She's in a playful mood today, the sea, winking at me, beckoning me. Her flirtatiousness belies her strength. I settle into my breathe up, the preparation, the cycle of breathing to bring my body and mind into a state of relaxation before a dive. This sound, the slight dragging of the air through the snorkel, amplified by my neoprene hood and the water, is one I dream about when lying in bed. When sleep evades me, I think of this moment, this soothing lullaby, and just as in the water, my eyelids grow heavy and my limbs soften. This is, after all, an extreme sport of relaxation.
Thank you. You become a free diver, Claire, inspired by kind of a sequence of events, I guess, or life circumstances.
Yeah.
And your story then evolves down that journey and kind of what happens. I loved at the start of the book, the conversation with a friend about the depths, and you outline what your goal is.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you're kind of wondering, in the spirit of, I guess, of ambition and self-competition, where you might wind up, you know, and your friend points to a Dublin building, and, you know, to kind of highlight the imagination that's already afoot in that exercise.
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice at the beginning to get that, because it is very impressive. And like you say there, that piece that you've just read, it's something that I guess a lot of people would look at and think, wow, that's incredibly daunting, it's dangerous, you know, and then at the same time it seems to, for you and I guess for others, have inspired this flow state, a sense of peace. Can you talk a little bit about the start of that journey for people who may not have read the book?
Yeah,
people who may not have read the book.
I think a lot of people now have a broader knowledge, or certainly an idea of freediving, due to the documentary on Netflix. And whilst that is super, and Laura McGann has done an incredible job, there is a part I think that's not necessarily missing, but that documentary is showing a really extreme side of freediving, and I liken it to running. You know, with running, you can do a couch to 5K, you can do a 10K, you can do a half marathon, a marathon, an ultra marathon. Then you can do an ultra marathon in the snow, barefoot up a mountain. But it's all still on the spectrum. It falls under the umbrella term of running, and I think freediving is the same. You have those quite out there, or maybe, you know, dangerous stunts that are shown in the documentary. Then you have competitive freediving, and again, that is a full spectrum. You know, I've taken part in competitions, but what the elite athletes do is so far away from what I've done. And then you can have the people that train but might not compete, and they dive just for themselves. And then you have people who who want to extend their breath hold so they can spend longer under the water to see what's under there. That they enjoy all the aspects that go with it. For example, learning breathing techniques, mindful practices, meditation, or maybe they're underwater photographers. So there's so much involved under the term freediving. And I think to lump it in with extreme and dangerous does the whole sport and all the training such a disservice. That's what a really big part of my book is attempting to debunk.
Yeah. And for you, Claire, I mean, I know it's kind of hard to synopsize in a way, like if people read the book, they will obviously get the totality of kind of your experience. But what have been your lessons, your biggest lessons from that journey?
The one that's coming to my head at the moment is learning, or a framework to be in the moment. Obviously, being mindful or a mindful practice is a very de jour phrase when it comes to self-care. And I think obviously there's a huge value to that, but I think when terms get popular, they lose their impact or the actual meaning. So you might, use it as a hashtag on Instagram, it can lessen its meaning, for want of a better phrase. So in freediving, I have a little mantra that when I'm going down or when I'm starting a dive, and it is just this moment, just this moment, just this moment. It's forcing, it's urging, it's inviting yourself to be in just the moment as it is, and most importantly, without judgment. And that's the real big learning for me. So, in freediving, it's a way to explore that. And once that becomes a little bit more habit, we're part of habit, it's easier to apply on land sometimes.
You swim in the sea regularly now here in Ireland. I swim in the sea regularly in Galway, and I love it. And I think for a lot of people who do it, it's kind of addictive, and it feels in ways like a good addiction to have. I think there's always kind of an atmosphere and a sense of community around these things. For you, obviously, the act of diving, well, it's not completely solitary because you have your aides in the process. But for you, has it given you a sense of what is your attitude, I guess, to community now post the journey of like becoming a free diver? And now even in Ireland, I guess we now have like sauna culture, and more people are kind of taking to the water and getting in. Has it kind of changed your perspective on connection, I guess?
No, I don't think so. Free diving is really wonderful in that you get to meet people from different countries, different cultures. I met my husband, an Egyptian Muslim, through free diving. So, worlds apart in terms of upbringing, culture, belief. So I think it's really broadened what I believe community to be. It's not just the people I swim with on my local beach. It's not just the people I share a sauna with, which, I do regularly. I'm a big fan of Fod Sail saunas. But now I have a network of people all over the world who will check in once, twice a year, and maybe I'll see them every second year. But what brings us together is this love and, more importantly, respect for the blue. So you might not see them for a year, but the minute you're back in the water with them, there is a connection, like I said, a shared love, and that 100% bonds you to them. So it's really, really incredible. My Frida pals have been wonderfully supportive. Though you might not see them from one end of the year to the next. So it's just opened it up for me. So I feel incredibly lucky to have that.
What's the process of having the book been like? It's obviously a different thing to write it, to put it out there, then you're meeting your readers. For you kind of reading it back, is there more that you kind of want to explore, you think, in this kind of an area, or how are you feeling now about kind of other projects in this kind of vein?
Yeah, there's a lot in that question. The process of putting a book out there is no different to, I think, any creative process, in that it has days of what the flip am I doing, of tears, of frustration, of wanting to pull the duvet over your head, of, oh my gosh, I think I can do this, of pride. It's the full spectrum of emotions. Um, and I suppose, divide the process into writing and then publishing. When it came out into the world, it's a whole other ball game. Um, Having it out in the world is, I use the word humbling a lot. It's kind of becoming a cliche, but it's the only word that I can think of. It's really, so I'm sitting at the desk that I wrote it at, and I'm in my spare room, which is my kind of writing room. And writing it is quite an isolated experience. And I write like I speak, so I write my thoughts. So a lot of it is like almost like a stream of consciousness. So it's something that's incredibly intimate, incredibly personal. And then when it's out in the world, and people reach out to you and share their story or what resonated for them, it's a really bizarre sense of connection. Um, and I suppose pride is the word. Pride that naming something that before might have been a little bit more under the radar, naming it, having people relate to it, it helping people, or it helping people feel less isolated, that's something that I feel quite proud about. As you mentioned, I was recently shortlisted for Sports Book of the Year, which was incredible. And we had the award ceremony last week. And being there, I was a non-winner, and I was talking to plenty of other non-winners who have incredible books and feats under their belt. And I thought, this is a really cool club to be part of. But it's definitely ignited um, the drive to write again. I miss writing. I didn't write before this. But I realized during the process, I love it. I really love it. It's a really, I suppose, for me, worthwhile mode of expression. There's a terrific book by Simon Fitzmaurice, and in it he writes, "Writing is fighting," and that's kind of become my mantra over the last couple of months. If I'm going through something that brings with me a sense of frustration, or whatever it is, or whatever it's bringing up, good, negative or positive, writing is a way to assert yourself if you're feeling out of control. It's a way to regain autonomy. And I think that's why the practice has become quite important for me. So as I gently rub the cover of my first book, I'm beginning to turn my head to, if there was a second book, what would it be about? I don't have that answer yet, but it'll be an exciting process to figure out.
Amazing. Okay. Well, congrats on the book, Claire. It's fab, and we'll link it in below this chat. And people looking for something to read over Christmas or to gift something, I think it's a great copy to give. So thanks so much.